The C standard library provides some simple functions for unformatted character I/O. Let's take a working copy of working.c and we'll paste this into our working project. You'll notice that this uses printf, and that's actually not the simplest way to put a string on the screen. We can do this with puts and just type hello world. One of the nice things about puts is that it's very simple and it actually inserts the new line for you. So if I copy and paste 3 of these and we compile and run this, you'll see that it puts them on separate lines. If I use the fputs version of this, and we'll just do this 3 times and you'll see how this works. And you want to put std out. It's the standard output stream. You'll notice that I'm going to save here and compile and run. You'll notice it does not put the new line in. So the regular puts version, just back up here, my Command Z or the Control Z on a PC, and we compile and run that, you see that the puts version puts to standard out and it puts new lines at the end, and it's just designed to make it convenient to do this. On the other hand, the fputs version allows us to write out to a file. So if I were to open a file, and I'll close that file as well, always a good idea. And then I can use fputs, and I can say this is a string, and I'll put in the new line because I know fputs needs that. And I can actually write this to my file. There's my file handle that I got back from fopen, and if I compile this and run it, it's written it out to the file. So I come over here to my working project, and I press the F5 key on my keyboard to refresh that. And I can open up this file, and you see it's got the string and it has the new line because it has this new line character at the end there. So likewise, if I want to, I can use fgets. And so let's just declare a string buffer here. We'll just give it a little bit of space. Of course, I would normally use a constant for that. And we'll open our file for read. And we'll use fgets here instead of fputs. And our first argument is the string buffer itself. Second argument is the size of that buffer, so it'll read a maximum of that size minus 1 character so that it can terminate it. And this will be an in buffer now, so we'll call this in. And then we'll come out here and we'll just display this string on the screen. And we'll just use printf for that because it's convenient and it doesn't put in a new line. And the string will already have a new line because we're going to read the new line from the file. So here we open the file for read, we use fgets to read it, and we close the file and then print it. So I'll compile and run, and there's our string that we read from the file. So there's another function I'm just going to mention here. I'm not even going to type it because it's actually deprecated, it's obsolete, it's been removed from C++, and it should be removed from an upcoming version of C if it hasn't been already. And that's called gets without an F at the beginning of it. And gets was originally designed to get a string from the console, from standard in, and unfortunately was designed in a day when people didn't think about such things, and it did not have this parameter here that limits the number of characters that it'll read. And so it's very dangerous and you need to avoid it. Let's go ahead and take a look at the function signatures for the functions we've used in this lesson. So here are the function signatures for the functions we've used in this lesson. Fgets will return a pointer to the result string or a null if it gets to the end of a file. And it takes as its first argument a pointer to a character buffer, as its second argument the size of that buffer, and it'll get a maximum of that size minus 1 character, and the pointer to the file handle. Fputs returns an integer. On success, it'll be a non-negative value, and on error, it'll return EOF. And we'll talk about errors a little bit later and how to detect them and how to use them a little bit later in this chapter. And puts is just like fputs with 2 differences. Always sends the string to the standard out, so it doesn't have a parameter for the file handle. And it always puts a new line at the end of the string. So that can be a convenience sometimes. If you don't need that, you can use the fputs version with standard out in the second argument, or you can use printf. And then gets is mentioned here just as a warning to never use it if it's even available in your library. It's obsolete and it's dangerous. So those are the basic unformatted character I/O functions in the C standard library. Now let's delete our working files and run clean to get set up for the next lesson.